Many people came to hear William Miller preach. The church was crowded day and night. The people were very serious as they listened to Mr. Miller explain the wonderful verses from the Bible. Ellen was surprised to read all these interesting prophecies in the Bible and to hear them explained so clearly. Mr. Miller had many signs and ways to prove that Jesus was coming again soon. In many schools every day, the teacher writes the name of the day and the date on the blackboard. Most of these days are just regular days in which nothing special happens. But some days are important. They are special days because special things happen on those days, like our birthdays or Christmas or maybe Thanksgiving Day. Now I'm going to show you a date that has a very special meaning to those who believe and understand the Bible. Something happened on this date that never happened before this time, and it has never happened again. Here is the date, May 19th, 1780. That was a long time ago. Do you know what this special day in history is called? It is called the Dark Day. That day began just like any other day. The sun came up, the birds began to sing, and the people got up as usual. The fathers went out to milk the cows while the mothers fixed breakfast. The children went out to do their work before going to school. Some had to feed the chickens, some had to feed the calves, some had to carry in wood so that mother could bake bread, and some had to pump water from the well and carry it into the house in a bucket. After breakfast, the children went off to school. The mother started to wash clothes or bake bread, and the fathers went out to work in the fields or gardens. Everything was just about the same as any other day until about 9 o'clock that morning, and then the strangest things began to happen. The sky began to get dark and cloudy. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, and heavy black clouds spread over the entire sky. By noontime it was as dark as it usually is at 9 o'clock at night. No one seemed to realize that one of God's great prophecies was being fulfilled just exactly as God had said. Let's turn to Amos 8:9, so we will understand what was happening, even if those people did not. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord God, that I will cause the sun to go down at noon, and I will darken the earth in the clear day. The cows out in the pasture came home to the barn. The birds all went to their nests. The chickens went to the roost, and bats flew about as they do at night. The animals and birds thought it was night, but the people knew that night had not come, and they wondered what was wrong. What is coming, they asked. Now at school it grew too dark to see books or slates, and since there were no electric lights in those days, the teachers sent the children home. Some of the children were afraid and began to cry and run. Even the grown-up people were afraid. They could not understand this queer, strange darkness. Men soon came in from the fields. The carpenters left their tools and hurried home. Some people said it must be like the plague of darkness that came upon Egypt. Others said it must be the end of the world. Soon it was so dark that no one could see a thing. People lighted their lamps and candles. Never had they seen a day so dark. What could it mean? Many people wanted the churches open so they could go and pray, and the minister could study the Bible with them. It's just too bad, but the only time some people ever go to church is when they get in trouble or get scared, like these people. When nighttime came, it was even worse. Some people were even afraid to go outside of their house because of the unusual blackness of the night. Finally, the moon came up, but it was not bright and shining, even though it was big and full. Instead, it was dark red. Isaiah 13:10 has some more to say about that unusual darkness. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And then again in Joel 2:31, it says, the sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. Some people stayed awake all night, watching and waiting for something terrible to happen. But nothing else happened. The next morning the sun came up, the birds sang, the chickens came running out to be fed, and the cows mooed to be let out of the barn. Everything seemed just as usual. But this unusual happening caused many people to think seriously. Surely, these people said, there must be some reason for the dark day. There was a reason, a very special reason. When God created the sun and the moon, he said, let there be lights in the firmaments of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs. And when Jesus was here on this earth, his disciples asked him, what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? Jesus answered, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. When some of the people studied their Bible to try and learn what these strange things meant, they found some of these verses, and then they knew that they had seen one of the great signs that must happen before Jesus comes again. This happened a long time ago, but Jesus said there would be other signs to show that his coming was getting even closer.